Hi guys, it's Lesley Timbol. This is Mental Iron. Welcome to my chat here. I do a live Q&A every Monday. I just finished up with Iron Therapy with Dave Palumbo, and we were talking about trophy hunting. So let me tell you, first of all, what trophy hunting is versus what it's not. For people who are bodybuilders and they're competing show after show, that's not what I mean by trophy hunting. Trophy hunting for people like, let's say, Ian Valliere, who did a lot of shows, he's doing it for money. And, this is a job. So for people who are competing show after show to gain money to make money, by all means, go for it. Now, when it comes to people who are competing, let's say early on in their careers, and they're trying to figure out what category they fit into, they may want to do different categories. Like for myself, I did both figure and I did women's physique because I wanted to know where did the judges prefer that they place me. So I did more than one category. And because of my age, I did open, which means all ages, as well as the 35 and up or 45 and up, which is the master's categories. Welcome everyone who just joined. If you have any questions, just put them in the chat. So we're talking about trophy hunting. So I'm not talking about people who are trying to figure out what category their body type is going to be displayed on stage to be able to get them their best placing. I'm talking about people who do multiple categories every show, and they do a lot of shows, as well as people who there's a category called novice. Novice are people who are new to bodybuilding. That might be their first time or their second time doing the show. They haven't won anything yet, but they want to try to improve. Novice is a great category. But if you've gotten to the regionals, and let's say you're in the top 5 in regionals and you're able to do other shows, don't go back to novice. That's not fair to the novice people who are just starting, because you have so much more experience and you've actually been able to place better than them. But when you're talking about people who are doing novice repeatedly, so they're basically overqualified is what I'm saying. And they're doing show after show after show, thinking, hey, you know what? It feels good. And I'm not just talking about the novice category. It could be people in regionals. Let's say you've done nationals. Why would you go back to regionals unless you have to requalify? If you have to requalify, by all means, you have to follow the rules. But people who are doing, let's say, regional show after regional show, or shows across, whether it be the country, but doing shows after show after show just to get the medals. And we're talking about multiple categories. So maybe they're doing, for the guys, maybe they're doing physique, maybe they're in men's physique, maybe they're doing, light heavyweight. They're in multiple categories and they're repeating it over and over and over again, because at the end of the show, they're guaranteed to at least have a few medals or trophies. First of all, I don't know where you'd have the space to do that. If you have space, and I don't have a problem with people who want to have a trophy case to showcase their efforts. I think that's great. But again, we're talking about people who it's almost like an addiction, that they feel they have to compete. And this is usually people who don't have balance in their lives. So you can get a lot of satisfaction from competing. I'm not saying do not compete. I'm saying, but what else do you do to get validation in your life? If this is the only way you're getting validation is just through a trophy or a medal, that's an issue. Because what happens when you stop competing for whatever reason? Does that mean you have no other sources of validation? Again, it's being able to have the competing piece with something else going on in your life for validation. Now, there's 2 types of validation. There's the validation you get from other people, and that can be anything from the medal, the trophy. It's someone even saying, good job. Maybe you didn't place, but you know what? You brought your physique to a level you've never brought it to before. Well, bravo. That's great, because the idea is about making improvements. So I think it's important to be able to give yourself a pat on the back, especially putting in all that effort. Now, the other type of validation, that's other validation, is self-validation. It's trying to say, you know what? Based on my pictures from last show to this show, I can see an improvement. I am proud of my achievements. I was able to bring up, let's say, a weaker body part, or it took me, let's say, from one year to another. That's an area that I was really struggling with, that body part, and I was able to bring it up from last year to this year. Great. I think that's great. You should be able to do that. That's self-validation. It's important to be, now can be our own worst critics for sure, but it's important to learn how to be your best friend and being realistic. Saying that your body looks like shit all the time when it doesn't, that's not realistic. Now, I'm not talking about when people are competing and they're in that mode where they're low calorie or low carbs, especially, then they're going to feel like they look like shit all the time. That's normal. I'm talking about more like constant. I'm not talking about segments of time. So for anyone who's joined in the chat, welcome to my chat, and please feel free to post questions. We're talking about trophy hunters, but the way my chat works guys, is that I start with a topic, but if you guys want to bring in another topic or ask a question completely different, by all means, this is what this is for. It's a Q&A. You can ask me anything, and we can have that kind of conversation. Ancient One. Oh, thanks. Like that button, hit it. Thank you so much, Ancient One. I really appreciate that. If I had a PR department, you'd probably be at the head of my PR department, as far as getting, I appreciate it. It's always nice to see regulars. So I appreciate that. But yeah, if you guys like what you're hearing, please hit the like button. I want to try to get my message out to as many people as possible. And again, I want to invite questions. I don't want you guys to feel afraid to ask me questions, whether it's bodybuilding, fitness related, that kind of thing, because I want to help you guys. Consider this like a free counseling session. I mean, how many times are you going to get something for free, right? But I'm going to give you, some suggestions or some tips. We can have conversations about, again, the topic right now is trophy hunting, but we can talk about anything. Dave, aka Mark, I love that name. I remember you told me that last time. And are you hijacking your boss's computer again? Okay, no hijacking boss's account today. Played hooky instead. Oh, you played hooky. That's awesome. Okay, Dave, aka Mark. I love that. You got to keep that. Keep that as your name, please, because I love that. I think that's awesome. And the fact that you hijacked your boss's account last time, honestly, that was the biggest compliment. So I just wanted to thank you. And that was probably the best ab workout I had all week last week. So thank you. Yeah, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. I don't know if you, Ancient One, I think I did see you in the chat for iron therapy. A lot of times when I'm talking on iron therapy, I only get a chance to glimpse really quickly at the chat, but I can't really read the chat because the way Dave's talking, I'm trying to focus on what he's saying. But Dave, aka Mark, were you actually there at the iron therapy discussion? And I don't know if you guys have questions about it, or if you want to comment. What do you guys think when you see people competing show after show after show? Now, again, I'm not saying to get experience. I'm talking about people go in, let's say, 5, maybe more categories. Now, like I said on the iron therapy show, my first show, I did do 5 categories. I did open and masters figure, open and masters physique, and one of them I did grandmasters as well. Between figure and physique, I forget which one. Going up 5 times, let me tell you, I will never do that again, even if I had that choice, because your body gets really tired, especially with the comparison rounds. And I actually lost my spot. I was in the center because I was so tired. I just couldn't hold my poses because 5 categories is, like I said, is a lot. It's very tiring. But for people, even if you have the posing stamina, doing, that many different categories over and over and over again, once you figure out your lane, what category, like once I figured out, hey, the judges repeatedly like me in physique, that's when I transitioned over to physique, and I never went back to figure again. This is not to say I'm dissing figure. I'm not. I think, the girls in figure are amazing. I don't have the structure for figure. But the people who do, they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. And I have a lot of kudos for the figure athletes. So this is not me hating figure. I'm just saying figure is not for me. I also I'm not a big heels person. So the fact that women's physique, you don't have to wear heels is awesome. It's just speaking for myself. Sometimes I don't have questions because I'm constantly learning. Okay, that's okay. Just being here is good too. I just want to make sure if I'm, chattering like a chatterbox, that's actually making sense. So if I'm saying something and it doesn't make sense, or if you want some clarification, just, I don't take any offense. Just put it in the chat box, okay? But I'm just going to kind of ramble on. But awesome. Thanks, Ancient One. So, I mean, the trophy hunting thing is more, having that validation and not having other places to get your validation from. So I would, if someone is struggling with that and there's like, Lesley, I have this need, I can't express how, why I do this, but I just feel like I have to do it. I get my little, it's like they get a fix. I do my show, I get this little fix because I get my little 2 minutes on stage and I get people clapping for me, and that's great. This is all great stuff, but they can't wait for the next show. So guess what? They usually have it actually even planned. And it's not to saying doing multiple shows is a bad thing, but again, it's to saying they're doing like multiple shows. Like they might be doing, let's say, 12, 15 shows a year. That's a lot on the body. And even if your body can keep up with that, because some people do, mine can't. I can't compete that many times because my body gets really tired and then it doesn't respond as properly. But for people who are able to bounce back, it's just saying, well, if you're going to be in prep pretty much all year and you're doing this year after year after year, when it will catch up with your body. At some point it will. Even if you have really good genetics or, and you're young, at some point your body will break down. And even physically, if you're able to do that, mentally, what are you setting yourself up for? Because one day when you do retire from bodybuilding, for whatever reason, like I said on Iron Therapy show, sometimes people have to retire. Maybe it's because of an injury, maybe because of sickness, maybe because, for whatever reason, they have to retire early. Maybe it's affecting their relationship and their significant other is saying, hey, if you don't cut back or if you don't stop competing, we're done. And they might be saying, okay, well, I got my competing thing out of the way. I don't want to lose my relationship with my significant other, so I better, wrap it up. Again, whatever the reasons might be, when you retire, where are you getting that validation? It's important to have validation in multiple sources. So my thing about the trophy hunting thing is if you're only getting validation from these trophies, let me ask you this. What happens if you compete and you don't get your trophy? What does that mean? And here's the thing where I didn't get a chance to talk about in Dave's show is the fear of failure. So with the fear of failure, it's you almost guarantee yourself a win. How? If you're overqualified and you go in a regional show, and again, I'm not saying to qualify, because sometimes you have to do a regional show to qualify to do let's say a pro qualifier as an example before you do a pro show. Like there's a certain hierarchy. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who are, let's say someone's a pro. Well, they're not going to go back to amateur and do a regional. Technically, I don't even know if they're allowed to do that, but let's say they are. Why would you do that? Like if you're in a different category, let's say you're a pro in one category. Let's say I was a pro in women's figure. Okay, well, I'll have to start from scratch if I want to be in women's physique. That makes sense. But I'm talking about if I was a pro in figure, why the heck would I go back to the amateurs and compete in the amateurs? If I'm a pro and I'm qualified as a pro, that's taking a first place spot from someone who's never had a pro card, who's never been able to do that. That's not fair to them. So, that's something to be aware about. Okay, know about folks like this from martial arts. Okay, sandbagging, guys who stay lower grade to rack up wins against the rookies. Yeah, so I mean, this is, that's a great point, Ancient One. This isn't just bodybuilding. It's that fear of failure that if I go against the big guns, I'm going to lose. So what do I do instead? I guarantee myself by going with people who are younger, like the rookies, and you're taking a spot from the rookies. Again, that's not fair. I was talking to Dave before the show about, people who qualify for pro cards, but they go to the quote unquote easier shows. Now, I'm not talking about shows where you have no control over who shows up. There can be a bigger show. I mean, look what happened with COVID. A lot of shows were canceled. You couldn't help, who could or could not make it because of, let's say, COVID or, a lot of times you can't you have no control over anyone else except for yourself. But there are shows that are known for being bigger shows, that are known for being tougher shows. Let's say like the New York Pro, that's known as a harder show. And then versus a show in Timbuktu, and I'm making that up because but maybe a show that's a pro qualifier, but is not well known. If you want to get your pro card, your chances of getting a pro card at a smaller, in the middle of nowhere show is much higher. Now, that is a strategy. If you want to get your pro card, that is a strategy. But the problem is that if you have that fear of failure, really for a competitor, it would be good to go in a bigger show to really compare yourself against the better quality people. Because Here's the thing. If you do want to compete in the pro ranks, now some people want to compete as a pro or get their pro card, and then they're like, I'm done. I got my pro card. That's what I was aiming for. And now I'm going to retire from bodybuilding. I'm still going to train, but I'm not going to be competing. Okay, that's great. That's great. I have nothing against that. But if you want to compete on the pro stage with other pros, if you get your pro card in a very a weak lineup, and again, we're talking about a weak lineup in a smaller show. I'm not talking about a weak lineup in a big show, because again, we don't have control over who doesn't show up on the bigger shows. But if traditionally speaking, the smaller shows that don't bring out the bigger guns, if you get your pro card there, okay, yes, that's like an accomplishment. But if you're going to compete at the pro level, that's not a fair comparison as far as how you'll do in the pro show. So you want to compete pretty much with some tough competition to see, well, where are you going to place? And then what can you work on? This is for people who want to continue competing, not just when they get their pro card and then retire. So, that fear of failure is really a big thing. And it's important to be able to say, okay, I understand there's some strategy involved, but again, the strategy of just getting the pro card is very short-sighted if you're going to do the long game of, well, I want to continue competing in the pro ranks. Well, to get better, you got to compete against the best kind of thing. Now, I'm not saying for people who are, let's say you got your pro card, I'm not saying you have to do the Arnolds or you have to do the Olympia. There are other big shows out there too. But there's also, with the fear of failure, I know some competitors who were qualified to do the Olympia who did not do the Olympia. Why? Because it's intimidating. So they didn't want to embarrass themselves, because the level of competition on the on the bigger stages, especially like the Olympia, it's fierce. It's no question, it's fierce. And then there's the whole debate of, would you rather? Wasn't that a game? I think that was a board game. I'm not sure. I want to say that was a game. I think I remember my kids used to play this game, Would You Rather? And with like these little cards. But anyway, would you rather place, let's say, in the top 10 at the Olympia, even if it was 10th? Or do you want to be in the top 2 at a really small pro show? That's tough. People are like, well, who doesn't want to be number 1 or number 2? Some people might want that because the numbers really matter. And other people are like, I'd rather be 10th at the Olympia because that's more competitive. And I can say I was the 10th best in the world. So it depends on your perspective. So this is not meant to be said as a judgment. It's maybe to see, be more aware of where you stand and why you stand where you are. When we're talking about the trophy hunting piece, it's being fair to other competitors and also finding validation from other places, not just from competing. And as well as not from my standpoint as a psychotherapist, I want you to find ways of getting validation other than other people. Sorry, scratchy throat. Okay, so, and that's with the self-validation. But sometimes we don't know how to self-validate. We're not usually taught to give ourselves a little pat on the back. We're taught, if anything, if you say something nice to yourself, that's actually you being arrogant. Well, it depends on the purpose of it. If it's trying to kind of say, hey, you know what? You didn't have a good sleep last night. You don't look great, but you got leg day. I know you're just going to push through it. Okay, you're trying to rev yourself up. You're going to kill this workout. That's called positive self-talk. Then there's the talk that you think you're the best thing since sliced bread. That's a little different. So it depends on the motivation. But I'm talking about self-validation is saying, okay, yes, you can pick apart your body if we're talking about athletes or a skill. Let's say you don't have to be a bodybuilder, but any kind of athlete saying, hey, I'm really good at this position, but not this position, especially in team sports. But what are you good at? Let's look at that. Let's highlight some of the positives. Yes, to focus on the limitations that you have. I'm not saying you can't bring something up. So whether it's a particular skill, whether it's ball handling, depending on what your sport is, if you're talking about bodybuilding, maybe it's a body part you want to bring up. I'm not saying ignore that. You have to work on making improvements, but don't forget about your strengths. Don't forget about your strengths, because that's more balanced feedback, and that's really important. It's important to learn how to self-validate. And we're not, again, I don't even know if we're taught that in school. I don't think we are. In fact, I don't even remember in all the schooling I ever Well, actually, that's not true. I took a psychology class that did talk about that at one point. It was only like one class. It's not emphasized to most people enough of the time how to do some of the healthier habits that we're supposed to be doing. All right, so let me just kind of check in with the, hey, Dave, nice to see you. Hi, Lesley. Can you explain the importance of having a good training partner? I get validation from good McDonald's, not a trophy. Okay, Dave. Okay, so you didn't ask this question. Good McDonald's. When I thought McDonald's, I remember my favorite thing in high school when I went to McDonald's. You know, most people get a burger. That's most people. What did I get? I got the chocolate milkshake and the fries. That's what I got. No protein. I haven't been to McDonald's a very, very long time. I just don't crave McDonald's. But yeah, I wouldn't even have the burger. I would just have a chocolate milkshake, the fries, and the only other exception is the combo number 3 for breakfast. So that was like the English muffin with bacon, cheese, egg, and it comes with a hash brown. I really like that hash brown. Anyway, so to answer your question, though, I want to answer your question. All right, so training partner. Okay, the importance of having a good training partner. You want a training partner, and certainly, Dave, if I don't know if you have one, it's really important to have a training partner who knows how to push you, not someone who's just going to be. No, okay. Here's the thing: they have to complement your personality. There are people who want someone who yells in their ear, like a drill sergeant. And that might be motivation for you. So if your partner knows that, and they're like yelling in your ear and then demanding you do another set, and they help obviously spot you as you're getting shaky. If that's something that you want and that works for you, and that gives you motivation, okay. So a good train. I can't just give you a characteristic of a good training partner because it's going to vary person to person. For me, I don't need someone yelling in my ear. That would just be annoying. Now, do I need someone that might kind of like be a little bit forceful, kind of like 2 more, 3 more, whatever? Sure, I don't mind that. Let's go, Lesley. I don't mind that. But, if someone's going to be like insulting me, you're being a piece of shit. What are you doing? Like, I don't need that. I really don't need that. Doesn't work for me. It might work for other people. So know who you are as a person, what kind of talk motivates you. Now, if you're the kind of person who wants compliments all the time, first of all, you're probably in the wrong sport if you're looking at bodybuilding. You have to have a bit of a tough spirit. You have to have a little bit of grit to you. And you have to be open to constructive criticism. If you want someone to stroke your ego all the time, that's not a great thing either. Now, if they see that you're feeling down or you're getting discouraged because last time you were able to do a certain number of sets with a certain kind of weight, and then this week you're not able to do it and you're huffing and puffing, something might be off for you. But if your training partner who knows you isn't going to be necessarily, hey, what's wrong? You did this last week. It could be, okay, come on, let's do one more. Like, it'll be more encouraging. And then we'll talk to you after the set to say, hey, has it seemed like a really tough set for you? What's going on? That's okay. So, finding a training partner is really depending on the characteristics you're looking for of what motivates you, both when you're tired and when you're really struggling. How do you get those extra reps in? Are you the kind of person where you need someone to count down the reps with you? And if they say 1 more, are you the kind of person that needs someone to say, okay, realistically, you're going to do 4 more? Or do you need that person to say 1 more? And then you think you're done. And they say 1 more. And they keep doing that. Okay. And they might need to change it up just to kind of to challenge you. But it's important to have communication. Now, that doesn't mean you have to communicate through the training sessions. It's usually when you're first getting to know each other. There are people, when you've been training with the person, a good training partner for a long period of time, you may not even talk. There might be just like an understanding that the way you do things, whether who goes first and, because you're going to be switching back and forth. As far as, what needs to be done, a little nod about, if they point to another plate, do you want another plate on? Or, they'll do certain kind of signals. there'll be an understanding. So it's not to say when I say communication, you have to communicate throughout the workout. That might be maybe in the beginning when you don't know each other as well. But it's really important for someone who to be able to respond in a way that works for you. Now, if you've said, hey, if someone is being really insulting and they think that works for them and that wouldn't work for you, let them know that, hey, that doesn't work for me, but this works for me. Now, if they're not being respectful of that, you might want to do a different training partner. Now, let's say, here's the thing about training partners. They're not always easy to find. For me, it's hard for me to find a training partner. Why? Because I'm 5 feet tall on a good day. So for me to find another female that can do the weights I can do in the way I do it. Sometimes I don't do heavy weights, but I do, like when I did pendulum squats, what I've been doing lately, I don't do as heavy, but when I go down, I do a 3 second, like first of all, I might do like a 2 to 3 second eccentric where I'm going down. I hold it for 3 seconds. 3 seconds isn't 1, 2, 3. I live in Mississauga, so I do 1 Mississauga, 2 Mississauga, 3 Mississauga. You can do 1 Olympia, 2 Olympia, 3 Olympia. Once I hit that 3 Olympia, then I go up and then I descend down again. So I don't do as heavier weights. So it depends on what you're doing, but you want to be able to do something, especially when you're working with someone where you don't have to go from like a few plates to a whole bunch of plates. Like for me to train with, let's say, a 250-pound bodybuilder would not make sense because he would be able to do way more weights. Now we're talking about, that's plate loaded machines. If you're doing like the pin, that's easy to switch it up. But when we're talking about, let's say, the leg press, for me to have a training partner who is, a big person and can do a heck of a lot more weight doesn't make sense because we're constantly moving the weights off just for me and then putting that back on for the other person. So you want someone who's a similar strength to you when you do your exercises. So that's important too. And also with a training partner, are they respectful of time? If you're the type of person to say, hey, you know what, because of my schedule, it's best that I train, let's say, because of their shift. Let's say you have an early shift at work and then you're done. So it's easier for you to go to, or you're able to consistently go to the gym maybe after work. Well, if your training partner can only do the morning, that's going to be a discrepancy. You want someone who can meet your training schedule at the same time and who's going to show up. There's nothing worse than finding a good training partner. They commit to saying, okay, I'll meet you at this day on this time, and they're late, perpetually late. So I understand that traffic can happen, or, something, let's say, especially let's say at work, your boss dragged you into a last minute meeting once in a while. Okay. But if they're late constantly and you're waiting around, like the last thing you want to do, especially at the end of a long work day, is have to wait around, wait for your partner to show up, and then start training, especially if they're really late all the time. A few minutes is not a big deal. You can just warm up during that time. So I think that's really important as far as a training partner. Did I fully answer you, Dave? Did you have other questions about that? You said, Dave, that you get validation from good McDonald's, not a trophy. Validation for me is usually my celebration meal after a show. I really love I already know for my next show, I know what restaurant I'm going. I even checked cause it's just under 6 weeks out for my next show. I already know what restaurant I'm going and I already know what I'm going to order. This is how focused I am on food. So it's something to look forward to. So that's my validation. And then I have to get back on track because it's the Amateur Olympia. So it's really exciting. Okay, Ari Investor, welcome. How did you get so wise? How did I get so? I don't know if I'm wise, but I always have good advice, even if it doesn't apply to me yet. My aspirations are to compete one day in Masters. Did you have to turn pro for that? Thanks. Okay, how did I get wise? Because I messed up a lot. This is the truth. When you make a lot of mistakes, you can either learn from them or you repeat them. Now, it doesn't mean to say I haven't repeated some mistakes. I have, especially post-show eating. It took me a long time to get my post-show eating under control. So what do I mean by that? After the show, you can eat whatever you want, and even the day after. So if the show is, let's say, on a Saturday night, I'll go for dinner, eat a whole bunch of stuff, usually start with something like bread because bread is definitely not on my program, and butter. I think I forget the taste of butter, but I think it's good. And then I'll have something, whatever. Then the Sunday, all day, eat whatever I want. Monday, I'm back on track. But what will happen in the past is sometimes on Monday, I would cheat all day too. And then Tuesday, I would have maybe 1 or 2 cheats. And then Wednesday, 1 or 2 cheats. And it would just keep going on, and I wouldn't be able to cut that cheat out because I wouldn't have a cheat for so like several months. A lot of bodybuilders will say they'll do like a 16 week prep. My preps are usually like 6 months or so. So because it takes me a long time to get my body in, and because I do everything really slowly, and it might be an age thing too, but I don't have a great genetics, so I do what I can. So that just means I give myself more time. So that's actually more of a mental game for me. So I think for me, how I get so wise is because I wasn't so smart before. So I learned from my mistakes. So hopefully that answered that piece. But I'm glad you liked the advice, Ari. If you have any other questions, do ask. As far as competing one day in Masters, do you have to turn pro for that? Okay, so remember, when you compete in the Masters category, you start at the regional level. You can even start as a novice just to see, how you would, just to get that experience on stage. I think that's a great idea. I mean, if novice was around when I started, I probably would have done novice first. But I did a regional show just to see how things were at. I didn't expect anything to happen at my first show, and I got second, which was the beginning of the end for me, because then I did my real show. The first show I did was my practice show, and then the second show was going to be my real show, and then that was going to be it. This was a bucket list item. Never was going to compete again. Here I am after 15 shows. I'm still going. So I got the bug, the competition bug. Okay, I got sidetracked. So to compete in the pros, they do have pro cards for the Masters category, but there's a sequence that it's important to follow. So one is you start with your regional show. Then you need to enter what's called a pro qualifier. If you place, now it depends on the pro qualifier, where you need to like if you win the overall in your category. So let's say you do, I'm just making this up. Let's say you're in men's physique. If there's different categories in men's physique, if you win your category, then you have to compete against all the other first places in the men's physique. And if you win against all the other first places, it's called overall. If you win the overall, you can get your pro card. Then if you want to compete as a pro, then you compete in the pro shows with the men's physique. Now, if you want to change your category, then you start all over again from the regional level and you work your way up. Now, for people who know who Sean Clarita is, and there's many, it's not just Sean, there's other people who've done these too. They've actually gone through the ranks and they qualify. So in this case, like Sean Clarita, he's 212, or he's been traditionally competing in the 212 division at the Olympia. He's qualified to do both the 212 as well as the open. So the question right now is, which one is he going to do? The debate is, because he's qualified to do both, can he compete in both? According to the rules as of right now, he has to choose. So there's a lot of debate about, well, if he's qualified for both, why not have both? So I don't know all the ins and outs about that. My understanding is that that wasn't allowed before. My question is, why wouldn't it be allowed? So if you guys wanted to let me know your thoughts on that, that would be cool too. I'm always happy to have a good debate. Doesn't mean I don't like you guys. It's just I like different points of view. I don't mind talking about that. So RE Investor, did I answer your question? I want to make sure I do. As far as if you want to compete one day in Masters, start with the regionals first. And then you can work your way to getting a pro card in Masters for sure. You can. Dave, aka Mark. Some people want to be the big fish in a small pond and can never mature or grow past that. Ego can, you know what, you're right. It's easy to be the big fish in the small pond, for sure. So, and it's a personal choice. For me, I like the challenge of a bigger show. I don't place as high. I could place really high if I go to the smaller shows. Now the show I'm doing is a regional because I have to qualify for the Olympia. Now that's because I'm Canadian. If you're American, you don't have to qualify. If you're Canadian, you have to qualify. Don't ask me why. So for the Amateur Olympia, that's the show I'm doing. So that's why I'm doing the regional show. So normally I wouldn't do a regional show, but because, like I said, it's the Amateur Olympia and I have to qualify, I do. Now, the other piece is that I may have, again, we're talking about the trophy hunters, about people going in the smaller shows. You know, if you don't get a certain level by the end of the year, you do have to do a regional show to qualify to do the bigger shows for next year. That's different. We're not talking about the requirements. We're talking about people who, let's say, do regional shows, do really well, maybe they get first place or even overall, and they still choose to continue competing in regional shows. Okay, well, that's a guaranteed win, or pretty much a guaranteed win, but why would you do that? Why not challenge yourself with the tougher competition to see where you're going to land? So you'll hear a lot of the pros do that. They can't wait. Like, this Olympia, guys, is so loaded with talent. We got people that of what we call the old guard, the people who've been there before, that have been competing for a long time, such as Rami, such as obviously Brandon Curry. We've got Bonac. We've got Hottie. You know, like, we've got these people. Now, Ian, I know Ian's not old, but he's been competing for a while, so I would put him in there too. But then you get the new blood, the newer blood. And by the way, I don't want to, there's obviously Hunter's been around for a while. We've got Nick Walker. We've got, I don't know if anyone saw Andrew Jack. We've got, now, I think, what's his first name? Crizzo. He's not qualified yet, but I have no doubt that when he does compete, he's going to win and be qualified for the Olympia. But I mean, there's a bunch of unknowns. We can't forget about, there's so many good bodybuilders coming up. Samson, I can't wait to see how he does. Nathan Diasha. I mean, there's a lot of good pros. This Olympia is going to be really fascinating. Because what's going to happen is it going to be more, judges going to reward more the muscle or the shape and conditioning? Now, ideally, when we think of bodybuilding, bodybuilders are not supposed to be small. They're supposed to be big. But if you're big compared to someone who has more aesthetics, who's going to win? That's tough. Now, no one's going to, and again, we're assuming everyone's in their best condition, but you'll hear all the pros. They can't wait to compete because they know that even if they're fifth, they know their competition was really, like, brutal. Doing that top 5 at the Olympia, or even the top 10, is amazing, because the top 10, I don't know what's going to happen. I really, really don't, because there's so much that can happen. And again, what are the chances of the top 10, everyone being in their best shape? Something usually gets effed up. And again, I'm not saying on purpose, things do happen. Unpredictable things do happen. So, but if you want to be the best, or, wear that trophy or that medal with pride, going against the best of the best, that's a great feeling. That's a great feeling. That can be intimidating for some people. So I understand that. So that's why people want to be that big fish in the small pond. I'm like, let's bring out the ocean and see how we can swim. That's my attitude, at least. Okay, so ancient one. Yeah, same here. Okay, species nutrition plug. Yeah, this is my species nutrition plug here. Okay, so by the way, guys, I'm not just saying this. Fiberlize, honest to goodness, has been great. Keeps me regular. Not to say you needed to know that, but it's great. It has a different type of fiber. I used to use Metamucil. It never did the same thing as Metamucil. Fiberlize is much better than Metamucil. Okay, hands down. Now here's another plug. And this is maybe why I was thinking about Sean Clarita. Mutant, guys. I love this jug. Mutant. Hold on. Some EAAs in there. Okay, that was from my leg workout this morning. Mutant's pretty good too. It'd be cool to be a mutant. Do I look like, okay, can you imagine me being a mutant athlete at 5 feet tall? Me against, I don't know, who else is mutant? We've got Nick Walker, Jamie the Giant, these big guys. How about little mighty little mighty girls. How's that? Little mighty women. I think they need some little mighty women on Mutant. I'm just saying. But yeah, you know what? There's a lot of good supplement companies out there for sure. Kevin, welcome to the channel. Nice to see you. I am well, thank you. Ari, okay. Also, where would you recommend starting at? Okay, you're currently 60. Used to train when I was younger. Okay, but rust has to be hammered off before I get into the contest. Okay, so you know what? Where you want to start, first of all, how often are you training right now, and what's your eating like right now? I want to know some basics as far as, you're at 60. Okay, cool. I want to know what your training is like and what your eating schedule is like. Are you getting any kind of body work done, like massage or physio? So if you can put that in the chat, that would be cool. Okay, I agree. Ari, that's the many of the champions like Haney, Arnold, Benu. Oh yeah, Yates and Gaspari always had that training part that pushed them hard. Yes. Frank Zane, however, didn't. He trained. You know what? Some people prefer to train alone. I wouldn't mind having a training partner, but the thing is, I'm kind of picky. Assuming I could find someone. Now, here's the other thing. I'm only 5 feet tall. So when you have to adjust the seat constantly, not to say it can't be done, but when I train, I don't want to have to wait. Maybe I do, because especially leg day, I'll take a little bit more breaks. But, if I was going to train with someone a lot taller than I was, even if we did the same weight, it's the constant moving of the seats and everything. Again, it can be done. But for me, sometimes I'm not at the gym at the exact same time, so I can't always promise to be there. So it's kind of nice, because I'm very, very punctual. If anything, I'm early when I go to things. I'm a little neurotic that way. It's kind of like I hate being late. It's just one of my pet peeves. I honestly hate being late for anything. So if I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to meet you at this time, I'm going to be early. That's just me. And if I had someone who is similar in that respect, or you see, again, it's the whole meeting the person at the same time, because it depends on how I sleep. Because when I did cardio this morning, I think it was like at 4:30 this morning. So by 12:30 p.m. today, I did my 1 hour fasted cardio. Then I did my 2 hour leg training. That was fun. And then after that, I did my second cardio. I did 3 workouts by 12:30 today. So little tired. But depending on my day, what will tomorrow be like? I'm not exactly sure what time I'm going to wake up. Maybe I'll wake up at 4. Maybe I'll wake up at 5. I usually don't wake up later than 5. 5 is usually the latest I work out before I do my fasted cardio. But that will also depend on, as far as my day, as far as what time will I be at the gym. So I wouldn't want someone to wait around for me. That would bug me. But so I prefer to train alone in that respect. But would I want some to push me? Absolutely. I'm actually, I hired someone to a one-day training with me on Wednesday. So I really look forward to training with him. He's an exercise guru, like this guy. You would know him. I'll talk about it next week though. So let's talk about, okay, so you guys are answering questions or asking me questions. That's awesome. Okay. Force tempo reps. I do them a lot to combat injuries as opposed to crazy heavy. That's a great piece of advice. Ancient One, thank you. For RE, keep that in mind as well. When you're training in your zone, and I'll do that too quite a bit, I like the force tempo reps because sometimes, especially when you're older, I find joints and ligaments aren't always forgiving. And sometimes the forced reps, you don't do the weight, you don't have to do as heavy weight, but you can definitely get your intensity up. So that, for me, I really like that. Dave, yes, thank you, Lesley. After parties used to be held in McDonald's, the cleaners used to get really pissed off with us as we used to make the right mess. Can only imagine the messes these poor cleaners have to do after the shows. Like not even after McDonald's, but after the shows. Like, how when you compete, the guys will have their washrooms, the girls will have their washrooms, especially with the tanning products and everything. And some people are not very sanitary. I can only imagine. And I feel so horrible for these poor cleaners that have to clean the bathrooms after a show. I can't even imagine, but it's, hats off to these cleaners, honestly. Okay. Ancient ones. Okay, I'm 48. It's crazy the amount of progress I can make at this age with better form as opposed to heavy ass weight. I give up some size, but my shape is better than ever and improving. Ancient one, that's awesome. And I see, here's the thing. When they talk about, and this is the thing about, when you do weight, can you increase body mass? Yes. But depending on your structure and your metabolism, your genetics, it may not stay on your body as well. So what I mean by that is it can show, like there are people who can put on, let's say 20 pounds, and a lot of that's lean muscle tissue, and it looks fabulous on them. You can put 20 pounds on, it may not look so fabulous. So, and I'm talking about good food. We can, let's assume that we're not eating McDonald's here. But some people, and they store their fat in certain areas, and that's not very complimentary. So when you give up size and to bring in that super sharp conditioning, you're going to lose out on a little bit size. But that's where I tell people to play to your strengths. It doesn't mean you can't work on size, but if your calling card is conditioning, stick with the conditioning. That's great, Ancient One, about being 48. You can make progress for sure. And form is everything, absolutely everything. Believe it or not, I'm still getting my form fixed. Like the guy I'm going to be training with is going to be definitely fixing my form. It's just these little tricks that we're not taught. And it's been a while since I've trained with someone, a coach. So I'm actually really looking forward to it. Okay. Yes, state regional pro qualified place category overall to go pro. I'm familiar with Clarita too. Oh, you're welcome, Marie. You're welcome. Frank Zane, yes. Yeah, it's harder to do heavier weights with their old bones. Yes. Okay, Doug does. Okay, cool. Yeah, my tendons get obliterated after a certain point. I'd rather be a wimp and lift 6 days a week than lift heavy and be injured 5 months of the year like my younger buddies, your younger buddies. And the problem is, Ancient One, a lot of times these guys who lift weights, now some guys can lift weights and they're fine. But if they don't change their training style as they get older, they're going to get injured, unfortunately. I'm not wishing people get injured by any stretch, but it's about respecting the body and what it can take. So what it could take last year might be different than what it can take this year. And that's a really tricky balance to get into. Longevity is important as we age, and so is time. Stay healthy. Ari, 100%. As we age, Lee Haney, the adage of stimulate, not annihilate, rings so true. I agree, Dave, aka Mark. I do agree. Now, some people are going to disagree, and anyone who disagrees, by all means, feel free to put it in the chat. It's not we're going to be hating. I encourage to have different. You see, I'm not one of those people. If you disagree with me, I don't like you. Okay. What I don't like is people's approaches. Like, if someone's going to be a troll, I'm not a big fan of that. But if you have some constructive criticism, by all means, or if you disagree with what I say and say, you know what, Lesley, size is the game. This is bodybuilding. It's about size. Put that in the chat. I don't mind. I'm not going to hate you. You have a right to your opinion. We can have differing opinions. I can still like you. That's okay. Let's see. So, okay, I still can't get the Fiberlife commercial of Jimmy on the toe. That is the best. Honestly, I told Dave this. I said, that's the best Fiberlife commercial. When I didn't realize that Jimmy was such a good actor. Okay. He's hilarious. He makes me laugh. But when he does the flat earth theory, I admit, I roll my eyes. I will admit it. I roll my eyes when he does the flat earth. Yes, I believe the earth is round. Yes, I do. And if you believe the world is flat, I will not hate you, but feel free to put it in the chat. I'm not going to hate you. I just might disagree with you. That's all. Okay. So, and off your mind. Yeah. Yeah. Lee Priest was and still is a mutant. Oh my gosh. Yes, he is. He is. The fact that someone can be retired, from bodybuilding, go into a transformation challenge and look like he does as fast as he does is genetics. I'm not saying he doesn't train hard. But, I don't know if you, and I don't know if you remember what Sean Roden used to look like in his off season. Sean Roden, God bless his soul, he didn't look like a bodybuilder in the off season. But when he went into prep, he was able to get his body so shredded. It was amazing. And again, it doesn't mean he wasn't working hard. Doesn't mean he wasn't dieting hard. He definitely was. But for your body to respond that quickly in that period of time is genetics. There's no question, for sure. And I have a lot of respect for Sean Roden and Lee Priest, by the way. Okay, I just got my fruit punch fibrillized this morning. Just finished my mango fibrillized. This Metamucil times 3. I sliced coffee and caramel mochaccino are amazing. Stimulizes is very good for the amount of stems. Okay. That's cool. And I agree. Honestly, fibrillized. I do prefer, I have to admit, I like the mango over the fruit punch. But again, I think that's just personal preference. I think it's good to have different flavors, though, because you can get bored of one flavor. Okay, just starting up after a long layoff. Okay, hold on. RE. Doing mostly body weight now. Lost all my muscle to diabetes, but coming back. Food is pretty simple. I am keto now, so mostly veggies and meat 3 times a day. Okay. So when you're saying that you do mostly body weight, how many days a week are you doing? And I think that's good to go slow, because even though you've lost your muscle, you have something called muscle memory. So you will get the muscle back. And food doesn't have to be complex. In fact, the simpler it is, it makes life a little easier. Okay, so try the Species Nutrition stuff to see if it was legit. It is. Hate the chocolate peanut butter isolized though. Okay. Yeah, I haven't tried that. I haven't tried the chocolate peanut butter isolized, I have to admit. I don't know. I haven't tried that one. Carbs have been a killer for me. I just can't tolerate them. So I eat a lot of veggies and meat and get my rest works well, or has for me. That's great. So okay, so you eat a lot of veggies. So that's a good carb. But you're talking about the complex carbs like the rice, the potato, sweet potato, oats. What about cream of rice, Ari? Were you able ever to have cream of rice? I'm just curious. Okay, heavy weight is not in the cards for me now. I use lighter weights, reps and negatives. Works great for me. Great. I don't hold water or fat, so I'm lean a lot more of the time. No binging. Ari, that's great that you have that kind of discipline and that self-control. I really commend you for that. Hats off to you for that. That's awesome. Ancient One, I train alone or with my kids. How old are your kids, Ancient One? With the wife on Saturday. She works out every morning with the kids at 5. Good for her. I haven't made that time in a while. You see, I don't know if I could do weights at 5 in the morning. For me, I need to get, ideally, in the past I've gotten, let's say, breakfast in, and then I'd wait anywhere between an hour and a half and then train. But I find I train better with 2 meals. That's why I normally go later in the morning, like around 9:30, 10. That just works for me, though. It's important to find what works for you. Now, if it works for your wife and your kids to train at 5, by all means, get it in. Then you get over and done with, too. Okay, so Ari, I just humored Jimmy. He's too cool not to be friends with. We both were in the Marines same time, by the way. Rodent I was a huge fan of. He should have been at the model for bodybuilding today. You know what? I agree, Ari. Jimmy is hilarious, by the way. He is hilarious for sure. The thing about what I really respect about Sean Roden is that he was I only had the chance to meet and briefly chat with him when I was in Vegas earlier this year. I never spoke with him before that. I never had the opportunity to meet him. And it was only a really brief chat, but he was just, he's just down to earth. He'll talk to anyone. There's no arrogance. He doesn't have an arrogant bone in his body. Not at all. You know, you wouldn't even know he was on Mr. Olympia. He doesn't hold himself like that. Literally, he's just like everybody else. You know, and, you know, I wish I could have worked with him because there was a lot of stressors in his life that I really wish, you know, he and I did talk longer and I had a chance to literally work with him because I think I could have helped him in many respects. But yeah, I think he would be a great model because, you know, he cares about people. He doesn't care if you're a pro. He doesn't care if you're an amateur. He doesn't even care if you're someone who's just into fitness and let's say you're a mom and you're just working out and you're trying to get rid of belly fat because you had kids. He doesn't care. You know, he's very open and it was very, you know, very, very welcoming. And he's a great rep. I mean, he would be at the shows. Like how many people would have gone through what he did and still shown up the shows? He made an effort to show support, even if he couldn't compete, for the federation and supporting his fellow bodybuilders. I think that shows such character. So for me, that's a very admirable trait. So I agree with you, Ari, that he's, you know, a great ambassador for the sport. We have a lot of good ambassadors for sure, but he would have been one of those too. Okay, I went through phases of training, stop, start, stop, start. Every time I thought I was a hot shot with form, it wasn't until I started again at 45 and I had to appreciate form more. You know what, Ancient One, I'm still learning form, especially when I get tired. I notice I get a little sloppy or I'm not paying attention as much, and that's that I realized I was in. You know, we all make mistakes. We honestly all make mistakes. So, you know, when I see these kids, and you've probably seen them too, they're usually guys in their 20s and they take off their shirts. And honestly, I'm not trying to be obnoxious. I'm not, but my back is better than theirs. Okay. My structure, like, it's just, these are kids. These are kids. And they're doing all these most musculars and stuff. And sometimes I shake my head and I'm like, but you know what? I was young once too, a long time ago. And I'm sure, not that I did that, but I'm sure I know I've done some stupid stuff in my lifetime. So we've all done stupid things. But the question is, do you learn from it? And that's what makes me wise, because I've done a lot of stupid stuff and I've learned from a lot. Now, do I still have a lot to learn? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's important, I think, to keep an open mind. Kevin, I do feel for Jimmy the Bull. It's very hard. If you just slightly drunk, the world spins. If you're really drunk and fall down, the earth is flat. When you I was trying to figure out where you were going with that. Yes. The flat earth. Yes. Like I said, if you believe the world is flat, I'm not going to dislike you. I like Jimmy, but I'm not going to, I just don't agree. That's all. Okay. The chocolate peanut butter ice slice uses that candy peanut butter protein powder people got, and I don't like it. Okay. Now that you have said, okay, Ancient One, this is not your fault. This is my fault because of where my brain is. Now that you have chocolate peanut butter, I'm thinking about a Reese's peanut butter cup because it's got chocolate and peanut butter in it. Well, I don't know if it's real peanut butter, but there's peanut butter, chocolate and peanut butter. And then take a dollop of, let's say, almond butter on top. That's what I'm thinking. That would taste really good with a glass of 1% milk right now. Clearly not on my plan, but that does sound good. And no, this is not your fault because this is how my brain works when I see food. So thank you for that thought, Ari. I train at home. Okay, so 2 days a week. So 2 times a day, 4 days a week. Follow Jerry Barnum's nutrition advice, mostly for aging bodybuilders. I'm making gains without rice and potatoes. Haven't tried cream of rice yet. Okay. You know what? If you're making gains and your joints still feel good. Now, you're saying you train at home 2 times a day. So 4 days a week, 2 times a day. Does that mean you're splitting body parts? So let's say morning and evening, or does that mean one session is cardio and one is weights? Can you just clarify that for me if you don't mind? Okay, kids are 7 and 9. I started them eating at 3 years old, kung fu movie style. Guess whose kids have 0 behavior changes? Congratulations, Ancient One. You are a good parent. There are so many times that, in my counseling practice, I deal with different kinds of issues. And I have a lot of parents that are a bit too indulgent with their kids. They have a hard time saying no, or the kids are actually running the household. And these are younger kids. I'm not talking about kids in their 20s. And it's, if the kid is unhappy, they don't, and all this kind of, I'm trying not to go on a little political rant here, but apparently there's over 100 pronouns now. When I grew up, there was she and he, but now apparently there's a lot more than that. So now we've got these kids who are jumping on this little bandwagon of wanting to be, whether they're biological males or females, and they want to be the opposite gender. Now, I do help people do, as far as people who are having trouble gender transitioning, when they're of age. A 3-year-old that says they want to be, let's say a 3-year-old boy who says they want to be a girl, or a 3-year-old girl who wants to be a boy. Doesn't necessarily mean that's what they want, especially at the age of 3. They don't know. And believe it or not, there's a place in the States where it does surgeries and hormone therapy for 3-year-olds. 3-year-olds, people. Really? Okay, don't get me started. It's kind of like, but you get people, let's say teenagers, who say, what's the new term? Oh, gender fluid. There's these bracelets, don't you know? Apparently, there's these bracelets. If today I feel like a male, I just put on my bracelet and I'll let everyone know I'm a male today. And if I want to be a female, I'll get my other bracelet for another day and I'll put that on. Oh, I'm a female. Really? What is wrong with our society? I'm just saying. People like that, their parents need to give them a good, when I grew up, okay, my brother got the belt. I got the wooden spoon. Now it's considered abuse. And I'm not saying that there isn't, I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to put down kids who are being abused, because that's a serious issue. But kids sometimes get away with too much, way too much. And their social skills, being polite, saying good morning, thank you. What happened to thank you? I don't know what happened to thank you from kids. Little things, or I call it the age of self-entitlement. I don't know if you guys know what I mean by that. So self-entitlement means, well, you're my parent, I'm your child, you owe me this, or it's your obligation to drive me to this, or to buy me that, or spend money and do all this and this. No, it's not. But they put so much pressure on, and sometimes parents are overwhelmed and they don't know what to do, especially when their kids are saying they want to be a different gender. And this changes all the time. Well, if I want to be, I don't know, if I want to be a dragon, does that mean, all of a sudden I need gender surgery or actually grow like scales? No. If I want to be a dragon, I'll get a costume, okay? Actually, I'm going to watch the She-Hulk that Dave was talking about, Iron Therapy. Apparently, on the Disney Channel, there's a show called She-Hulk. I'm going to check that out. He said, I saw this, and she reminded me of you, so I have to see what she looks like. Who knows? Maybe I will dress up like that for Halloween. But that's a costume, guys. Doesn't mean that's who I identify as. So, sorry, I went on a slightly different rant there. But yeah, let's go back into the behavioral issues. Kids need discipline. I'm not talking about abuse, but consistency. They need parents who are present. They need to have rules. They need to have guidelines. There needs to be consequences and follow through with the consequences. But they should be ideally logical consequences. So if someone didn't make their bed and they were supposed to make their bed, you don't necessarily take away their computer games. There's something that needs to be associated with that that's a little bit closer to that. Or if they're teasing their sister too much or whatever, it needs to be more closer to whatever the punishment basically needs to kind of fit the crime, so to speak. All right, let me get off the parenting thing. Sean Rowan was very congenial and friendly. I wish I could have gotten to know him more. I got a feeling he and I were a lot alike. I respected him so much. Ari, you know what? I agree. I wish more people could have gotten to know people like Sean. And while there are other people like Sean in the world, we need more people like Sean in the world. We really do. I do split routines, upper and lower of compound, depending on energy. I only do 30 minutes of cardio as warm-up before both workouts. Okay, sometimes only 20. I also rotate my workouts periodically. Okay, if you're doing, if you're splitting it up. Now, I assume that when you split them up, upper and lower, you're not going like 2 hours for upper and 2 hours for lower. Can you give me an idea about approximately how much time you would spend on the weight training piece? Preach, Lesley, preach. Oh, Dave. Okay. Yeah. If I go, guys, if my changes get a little boring, though, let me know. I completely get it. All right. Okay. Sorry, I'm hogging. No, you're not hogging the chat. You're the only one chatting. Or bring some stuff up. So by all means, I'm here to answer questions. If you guys have questions, that's great. And if only one person's asking questions, there's 10 people on here. Okay. But if everyone else wants to throw something in there, by all means. But I just want to make sure I answer. So, I've got Ari, I've got Dave, and I've got Ancient One. So anyone else who wants to throw stuff in, please do. Please. Okay, so I don't like to do a lot of cardio, but my 2 days in between, I do 30 to 40 minutes of cardio with stretching. So not bodybuilding 4 days a week. I mix it. Okay, I'm glad. Variety is good and stretching is good. Especially, stretching is really good. Especially after your workout. It's important to do some dynamic warm-ups, or people do warm-up sets, or you can do cardio and warm-up sets. I actually do cardio and warm-up sets before I start training any body part. You got to do what works best for you. But sometimes I see people, unfortunately, they go into the gym, they go straight into their workouts. They're not warmed up and they hit like heavy sets. I'm not even talking about warm-up. They're like, and I'm like, you're going to hurt yourself one of these days. And then, or people who do, let's say, warm-up sets, but at the end, they don't stretch. As soon as they're done their workout, they're out of the door. Now, maybe they're going at home and they're stretching at home. But for me, if I don't stretch when I'm in the gym, by the time I get home, I'm doing other things and I don't stretch. Not to say I can't physically stretch in my place, but I'm just saying it doesn't come into my mind. And I also want to stretch when I'm still warm after working out. So it's really important to stretch at any age, but I think especially when you're older, I think it's really important. So that's great. I think that's awesome that you do that. Ancient One, my kids have multiple citizenships. Awesome. So have to be able to function in societies and cultures where experimental social theories are frowned upon. I can only imagine there's different cultures that are going to have different kinds of rules and kind of ideas of what is acceptable and what's not. So it is important to have an open mind and be respectful of where you're at, whether you agree with those practices or not. Ari, I don't do marathon workouts. I'm not on gear, not even test. So all natural for now, good for you. But I'll eventually change that up and do more, but pretty minimal right now, 45 minutes to an hour. Okay. I like that. 45 minutes to an hour. There's nothing wrong with that. That's cool. That's really cool. And it's also better not doing the longer workouts. You guys may have remembered that I was doing 3-hour workouts, not every workout, but I was doing some workouts steadily for 3 hours. Legs was one of them. What my trainer has done, he went me from a 5-day-a-week training program to 6 days. So now I'm not training it as long, and that really helps. I actually also appreciate it too because I get out of the gym a little bit earlier. So I like that too. Angel, okay. At my age, I have to do 2 a days. Okay, muscle morning, cardio afternoon for me. Cardio is easier in the afternoon. Okay, great. And I could lift anytime. It's just more fun for me. And that's the thing, Ancient One. You bring up a great point. Lifestyle. A lot of times people say, when's the best time to do my training session? Or when's the best time to do my cardio? When can you get it in consistently? That's what I ask them. Consistency is key. And also, as far as making more, what's fun for you. For me, I've scheduled my day where I see my client calls afternoons and evenings. So that's why I load up my morning with my cardio and my weights for the first part of the day. Then I can get through with my day, and when my day's done, I don't have the workouts hanging up over my head, so I can kind of get it over and done with. Now, that works for me. That may not work for you. And again, I respond better. I tend to have more energy in the morning because at the end of the day, I do a lot of mental work with my clients, so it can be tiring for me mentally and physically. So by the time I'm done, the thought of doing a leg day after that would not be very appetizing for me. And again, that's just for me. Again, do what works for you, and that's what's really key. What works for you, look at your schedule. What can you do consistently? So if you find something that works for you, keep doing it. Keep doing it. So I think that's great that you found a system that works for you, Ancient One. Ari, okay, yes, I find that to be the case. 2 cry easier in the afternoon. Awesome. When I first got back in, I had to do 4 days for about a year to get back into any kind of decent shape. It takes time. It takes time. Lesley, what positives did you experience, if any, from anabolics other than muscle gain and recovery? That was pretty much it. The muscle gain and the recovery. Did I notice anything else positive? I'm trying to think. Oh, yes, sorry. It helps through the cutting phase. Because I've been blessed with a lot of estrogen, I say that with a lot of sarcasm, it's hard for me to lose fat. It's like my body wants to hold on to fat like it's no tomorrow. So the what I'm taking does help me lose. Now I still got to get my cardio in. Trust me, I'm still doing my double cardio, but it does help from a fat loss perspective. That's the other advantage I would say to that. I hope that answered that question, Dave. Trying to get a better understanding from the female perspective. Now, are there cons? For sure. Do your homework, get your blood work done, whether you're male or female. I think it's important. But remember, and I don't, Dave, AKA Mark, I just have to say the whole thing because I think it's so funny. Dave, AKA Mark, I don't know if you were here on a previous episode where I said, what did I say about it? Sorry, what was my point? I did have a point. Sorry, I'm clearly low on carbs right now. I did have a point. If it comes back to me, let me see if I can get it back in my head. Hold on. Female perspective of taking gear. There was some point. If it comes back to me, I'm going to bring it back up again. Hold on. All right. In my experience, and from Jerry's advice, it makes sense that if you take gear, you will train longer and or more often, seems to be the norm for it and biologically makes sense. Okay. So as far as train longer and more often, when I was, this is what I was going to say. Ari, you actually jogged my memory. So Dave, I'm going to answer 2 things at once. Okay. So Dave, what I was going to say is I was natural for 12 shows. My first 12 shows, I was completely natural. When I say natural, I did still take glutamine. I did still take creatine. I'm talking about I didn't take any type of gear. That's what I mean. Because when you talk about natural, I want to define what natural means. Some people say to be natural, you shouldn't take anything. You shouldn't take aminos. You shouldn't take a multivitamin. Like to be natural, you can't take anything. Well, I definitely take a multivitamin. I take my creatine. I take my aminos. I take my EAs, my BAs, BCAs. It's in all the alphabet of vitamins. So I'm talking about when I didn't take gear, I was still following. I was doing, was it Joel? I forget, what's his last name? Marianne. He did 1,000 calorie workouts. I was doing those. I was doing 3-hour training sessions before I started any gear. Before I even started competing, I would do 3-hour workouts. So my body got used to it, training long periods of time. Now, I'm not saying every training session was 3 hours, but I would do at least 2 3-hour sessions every week. And this is before I even considered stepping on stage, before I even started competing at all. So now, did it help maybe for stamina? I don't know. Maybe it has. I don't know, because it's hard because I had a lot beforehand too. Let's see what else. Was there anything else I was going to add to that? Let's see. Oh, Rajiv, thank you. Welcome to the chat. I'm 44. I used to compete in state shows in India. Cool. I always wanted to go to India. Okay, apart from stretching, what are the other modalities to recover from workouts that are practical? I'm a surgeon. Don't got much time. Okay, so have you ever done, apart from stretching, like have you ever done foam rolling or rumble rolling? So, that helps break up the fascia as far as, it's kind of like a massage. The other piece is seeing a massage therapist and doing deep tissue work. There's something also that people will use as far as, physiotherapy, as far as doing, whether it be Graston work. They do different kind of techniques with physiotherapists to get really in there to like break up the knots, because that's important, and to bring mobility back. Because here's the thing, as bodybuilders, even if you're doing lighter weights, but your intensity is up high, we can get tensed up and almost locked up. In fact, my back is kind of locked up, and my trainer on Wednesday is going to help me unlock it. What happens to unlock it is to release it. In order to release it, that takes some work. Yes, it's important to have good form, but I'm saying it's important to get some really good deep tissue work or some physiotherapy work. I did something called shockwave treatment. That was from a physiotherapist. So it kind of looks like a jackhammer. And they would do this work. Now it sounds kind of like a jackhammer. It's not like literally a jackhammer. And they would do it on certain areas of my body that were really, really, really tense. Got to break up all that that tension. Because if you don't have your mobility, when you do workouts, you're not going to get full range of motion when you're doing certain exercises, if you're all bound up or if you're too tense. So that's something I would recommend as far as, recovery from workouts. Out of curiosity also, are you taking any kind of creatine or fermented glutamine, Rajiv? That can be helpful as well. But stretching is definitely good for sure. Now, let me know if I answered your question. If you have further questions, please, or wanted clarification, just put it in the chat. But thank you for your question, Rajiv. Dave, I used to always do my cardio at home on the exercise bike, and when the gym asked me why not at the gym, my answer, so I could smoke a couple of cigarettes, was, you did not smoke and do cardio. Dave, are you joking with me? Do not be doing cardio and smoking. You might be pulling my leg. Are you pulling my leg? You got to tell me. Okay, same issue. Topic for future live. Physical and mental strategies to get and stay under 15% body fat. Okay. I am going to write this down because that's a great thing. Hold on. Where's my piece of paper? I want to write this down. Physical and mental strategies to get and stay under 15% body fat. All right, Ancient One. That's what we're going to talk about next week, at least on my live. I can't promise what Dave and I are going to talk about, but we'll do that here. Okay, Rajiv, when I competed, I used max 6 IUGH and 1.5 test with about 800 milligrams of another anabolic. So maybe I've used a little bit of insulin, but it made me fat. I've heard mixed things about insulin. Some people like it, some people don't. It also can be dangerous if you don't do it properly. Never used insulin myself. I'm not saying it can't work. I'm just saying if there's another way of doing it, why not? Okay, now the guys at the gym take an array of peptides. What's your opinion about that? Now, peptides. Now, keep in mind, Rajiv, I'm no gear expert, but what I've heard mixed things about from the peptides, gear is going to be more effective than the peptides. So why would you take both if one's more effective? And as far as the studies done, as far as the long-term effects of peptides, I don't know. That's a great question, though. But, I think that's I wish I could I'm not going to answer something I don't know about, but I'll be upfront with you. I don't know about it. I'm not the best person to talk about gear. So, and as far as, you know what, if Rajiv, have you ever heard of the bodybuilding podcast, Think Big? Is it Think Big Bodybuilding? When you go to my YouTube channel, when you scroll down to the other channels that I follow, Think Big Bodybuilding is one of them. They have this blood, sweat, and gear because they have different shows, and you can post a question to Scott, who's the main guy there, and he'll ask the panel, and you can get some answers there on gear. They're much better at answering gear than I would be. And there's Scott Stevenson who's really good about asking questions through Think Big to answer any kind of gear related questions, because I would trust those guys. Yeah, rumble rolling is great, or foam rolling if your body can't handle it right now. I did so much rumble rolling. My physiotherapist told me to stop rumble rolling because every time she worked on me, because I tend to have tight IT bands. Now, I don't know anyone who has loose IT bands who works out, but so I really roll the heck out of them. But now I've got all these bruises down my IT band because I rolled on them too hard. And she goes, Lesley, you got to stay off that thing. Go to foam rolling. So I'm back to foam rolling for a while and staying away from the rumble roller so my bruises can heal, because bruises on stage don't really look good despite the tan. Just saying. Okay. Okay. Also, getting your kids to walk your back is heaven. Okay. Well, mine are a little older. So, but at 7 and 9, that may not be a bad idea. Regular yoga sessions, great. Okay, you know what, Ancient One, that's a great suggestion for Rajiv. Yoga can be really good too. You are taking creatine, good. I'm glad. I always bounce between 13 and 17%. Can't break it. Okay. It sounds like your body might need a bit of a shake in order to break that 17%. Ancient One, remind me, and I think you might have, I can't remember if you told me this before. Have you ever worked with a coach or a nutritionist to break that 13%? Rajiv, your friend Dave Palumbo was always my online coach. Okay. Yep. Yeah, Dave is good too. Now, Rajiv, I think Dave has actually mentioned peptides. I'm trying to remember what he said. I don't think he was a big fan of peptides, but I think he might have mentioned on one of the Ask Dave episodes, because I watch his stuff too. I'm not just doing the iron therapy. I actually watch most, if not all, of the episodes. Sometimes I get behind because there's so many, because he puts out content all the time. It's hard for me to keep caught up with it, because I follow RX Muscle plus a bunch of other good bodybuilding podcasts. But yeah, ask Dave on his opinion on peptides too, Rajiv. I think that's a fair question. Okay, Ancient Ones, peptides from what I've seen and others hit or miss, very dependent on the same individual, 60-40 in favor of non-responders. And I think like anything, whether it's peptides or gear, anything, the quality can be a big difference too, because it's as far as, is it legit? How do you know if it's legit? I don't know if there's a peptide legit kit like they have, like Dave Palumbo has his testing kits. I don't know if they have testing kits for peptides. That I don't know. I don't think so, but who knows? But if you have a pure source of peptide, maybe it's a better response. That's a fair thing to say. Any other questions? Dave isn't a big fan of peptides. Okay. Now, the thing is, Rajiv, it doesn't mean because, I think I tried, what did I try? When I had tendonitis in my forearm, I think I tried, was it BP 140 or something? Shoot, what's it called? There were two. There were standard two. I can't remember what they were because it was a while ago. But anyway, it didn't seem to work. I found it didn't work. So for me, And again, assuming the source was okay, it didn't work. Now, maybe the source wasn't okay. I don't know. Now, that doesn't mean it can't work for other people. Maybe it does. But it wouldn't hurt, just because I'm saying what my experience was, or if Dave's saying he's not a big fan, doesn't mean you can't ask other people. Like I said, check out the Think Big Bodybuilding podcasts. The one with, like I said, what did I just say his name was? I lost track. Sorry, I'm on low carbs, so it's kind of like my brain gets a little fuzzy sometimes. There's a guy on there who's really well. Actually, there's two of them. There's Dave Crossland, and then there's another guy who's more knowledgeable when it comes to, gear and peptides. They might have a different answer. So it wouldn't hurt to, like I said, reach out to Scott at Think Big Bodybuilding and ask your question. Okay, so, I don't eat great, no coach, while milk, cheese curds, pork rinds. Are you serious, Ancient One? You eat pork rinds? Okay, you must be joking me. Please tell me you're joking. And if you're not joking, that's why you're not getting below the 13%. But I have a feeling you're joking with me. Okay, Rajiv, he thinks it's a waste of money compared to gear and GH. It might be, like I said, I don't know enough about it. Rajiv, that's a fair thing to ask. But I would say, ask some other people who are more in the know. I'm certainly not in the know. I don't mind you asking, but like I said, I just can't give you that answer because I don't know enough about that. But check out Blood, Sweat, and Gear, Scott McNally. He can ask Dave Crossland or the other guy. The other guy is really good too. What was his name? It's slipping my mind. I can see his face, and I can't remember his name in my mind. But if you ask him, this is a gear-related question, he can find out the answer for you. But it doesn't hurt to get another opinion. Yeah, the quality. You never know about the quality. And this is, again, the quality, whether it's peptides, whether it's your GH, whether it's any kind of gear. Quality does make a difference. Ari, nothing replaces gear, the real stuff for gains and overall growth. It just doesn't. Most peptides have a greater effect on the sexual side effects than bodybuilding. Tony Huge is a big peptide guy. Okay. I mean, you're going to get people on both sides of the fence. You got to do what's right for you. But it's like I said, I don't have an issue with you asking the question for sure. And you can still ask around. It doesn't hurt. But I'm just curious, if you're on, or if you were on the gear and the GH, what would make you be tempted to do peptides in addition to it? And here's the thing where I don't know. So when you're on, the way the receptors work for gear, this is why I don't duplicate gear that does the same thing, because it can only attach to that one receptor. If it's already been attached by, let's say, a peptide, does that mean something that's gear related cannot attach to it? Or is that a different receptor? I don't know. I don't know how that works. Dave would actually know more about that than I would, for sure. I can only think of Boston Lloyd. Poor guy, may he rest in peace. Yes. You know what? Boston, he was so young. I saw, did you see the interview Dave did with his mom, where his mom talked about what Boston Lloyd was like when he was a kid? What I was, he sounded like he had a lot of energy. He really cared about bodybuilding. He used his body to experiment with stuff, but he took it too far. And I think, John Romano got a lot of pushback when he was saying that, and I'm trying to remember the exact wording that John Romano used, but I think his point was that, because Boston Lloyd was at a point in his life that he had a family. He had, his wife, his I don't know if he had more than one child, but he definitely had a family. To do something that would be so risky when you have a family, and a young family, that was irresponsible. I think that was the word. I'm not 100%, but I think that might have been the word, or at least the message that John was trying to say. It's just, he's not saying, Boston was a terrible person, I think he was trying to say that Boston made a terrible choice, that when you have a young family, it's not just about you anymore. Doesn't mean he couldn't work out, but you have to be more cautious about what you're doing because it's going to affect your family, which it is doing now. I think there's a GoFundMe actually for Boston Lloyd's family. But I do. Yeah, I don't wish any ill will on anybody. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm trying to reach the bodybuilding community and, any kind of athletes or people in fitness to be able to say, okay, let's talk about some strategies on kind of overcoming some of this stuff or this pressure that you're having, whether it's internal, whether it's external. There's stuff in our lives, outside forces. How do we juggle that? How do we bust through certain plateaus? Because mentally that can play a number on you. I mean, the past 3 days, my weight's been the same. So thankfully with my coach, he gave me an extra cardio session, bless his little heart, and he took some carbs away. But he's doing what he needs to do so I can get the results I need to get, because he knows exactly what I want, and he's helping me get there. And again, nothing too crazy, and we're taking it in gradual steps, which is something you should do, not extremes. And that's really important, not to do extremes. Okay. I'm not kidding. I eat a protein-heavy keto type diet. I explode on carbs, maybe 50, 70 grams a day. You're right about the next level diet shake up, but I wonder about maybe I'm just not eating low enough calories. I barely hit 2,000 a day. I have to eat 1,000. Ancient One, there is no way you should be eating 1,200 calories. No way. No way. Here's a thought. Please do not hate me, but I want you to consider this thought that you're not eating enough calories. Maybe we need to change the macros a bit. But I think for sometimes to lose weight, and I know this sounds it doesn't make sense. Sometimes you have to eat more, because what you might be doing is putting your body into a state. And I'm not saying you're starving, but it's similar to starving in that it's basically hoarding everything. It's not allowing you to, it's actually taking away from your muscle instead of your fat. Because it would be lovely to say, okay, stomach, if you're hungry, take it from my fat stores. Don't take it from my muscle stores. It doesn't work that way. It would be nice, but it doesn't work that way. I would suggest that you talk to someone like Dave Palumbo, some type of coach, to figure out a better nutrition plan for you. Now, keep in mind, Dave does do keto diets, but I'm wondering if there's something he would change for you that would help you be able to drop that body fat percentage. I'm not the expert in this, okay? But I would suggest you reach out to Dave Palumbo. He's very reasonable as far as his pricing, but I would consider that for your eating. Because if you want to get below that 13%, honestly, I think you have to eat more. But again, it's going to, how much of what, I don't know. So reach out to Dave if you're willing to, because I think that would be your best bet. I've used Tony Huge gear. I took, 0.5 mils of his Primo, and it swelled up, and the swelling is still there after 2.5 months. Of his Primo. Sorry, what swelled up? What body part swelled up? Are you talking about swelling up as a bad reaction, or are you talking about the muscle being fuller? Rajiv, can you clarify that, please? Dave, holy crap. Thank you. Thank you, Dave, A.K. Mark. There's no way 1,000, 1,200, because I am 5 feet tall. Now, when I'm in competition diet, even my diet right now is not 1,200 calories. Now, will it get closer to 1,200 calories closer to show day? Yes, for a period of time. There is no way you should be doing 1,200 calories. It's not enough. Ari, tell him Tim sent you from Facebook. I hope it's okay I post that, Lesley. Which part, Ari? If not, I'll take it down. But Jerry is an expert on the subjects and a former bodybuilder trainer as well. Tell him Tim sent you from Facebook. I hope it's good. Oh, okay. As far as posting like on my chat, you can chat. Jerry, you know what? Jerry, yeah, you can definitely reach out to Jerry too. Just, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, this is a nice thing about having these conversations, because you're going to get more than one opinion. And when you get more than one opinion, it's not just an opinion, it's also experience. So when you get people who said, hey, I have experience with this kind of person, or I know about this person, they can share that information. So it's great that you shared that. Thank you. So, Rajiv, please reach out to Jerry. I think that would be good too. Rajiv, hope I'm not getting personal. Dave Palomo says female athletes should take only stanozol or anabolic. Is that how it is? No. Rajiv, no. I like Dave. I don't always agree with Dave, but I like Dave and I respect his opinion. My personal experience is now here's the other thing. It depends on the competitor. What category? Are they in bikini? Or are they in bodybuilding? Or women's physique? That makes a big difference. With someone in bikini, they're not going to need as much because they don't have to worry about the muscle. It's more about cutting for them. For women in the bodybuilding, obviously it's about mass and the cutting piece or the physique. So they need to be able to do both. In order to be able to do both, you'll probably have to do more compounds. Now, here's the other thing. Do you have to do huge doses of it? No. No, you don't. No, you don't. No. Now, are there people who abuse it and do higher doses? Sure there are. I've seen there are bikini athletes I know that are doing too high doses of certain things, and they're taking certain things they have no business taking because they're in bikini. There's no way they should be taking some of the things that they're taking. And I can't fault them per se, because a lot of times athletes are, they're even if they've been competing for years, they don't have the expertise. I'm not trying to say I have the expertise, but that's why we hire coaches. And sometimes competitors, and these aren't just bikini competitors, but what they do is they hire a coach, a competition coach that they heard that they've brought these girls in and they want that look. So they follow whatever protocol, whatever the training is, whatever the water intake is, the salt, the cardio, the gear. So they just follow the plan. And if the plan is to take a bunch of stuff in certain quantities, the athlete's like, oh, well, that's what I have to do to get that look. I guess that's the price I have to pay. And I don't mean just the price, the financial price of how much all this is going to cost, but the price meaning there's going to be some health risks that you have to take on because they trust their coach. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't trust your coach, but it's okay to question. It's okay to ask them. It's okay to do your own research. What are the side effects? Do I necessarily need to take all this? If you don't feel comfortable taking a certain amount or taking a particular product, gear, and your coach is saying, but you need this. And you're saying, well, I really don't feel comfortable with that. And they're like, no, well, if that's the look you want, that's what you got to take. Change your coach. Change your coach. Any coach that relies on drugs to get you to look a certain way is using drugs as their selling point, and they're not strong enough in other techniques. The high-level coaches, look at Neil Hill, look at Hani. They're not pushing big drugs, I'll tell you right now, on any athlete. In fact, they discourage it. They try to get away with as little as possible. How they get their athletes in shape is diet and training. It's old school. I know it sounds boring, but it works, and it's also a lot healthier. So, sorry, I think I went on a different tirade. Someone was asking me about. Rajiv, you were asking about, is the stanozol or anavar the only things women take in bodybuilding? No, they take more than that. Sometimes they take too much, and sometimes they need more because of the category. If it's more muscle building category, they might need more. But there are definitely categories like bikini, where they're taking stuff that they don't need it, but they take it, and it's just and it shouldn't be done. It honestly shouldn't be done. Okay, Ancient One, I hear you 100%. When I started, I ate to lose. It worked maybe 2.5 years. I'm playing mad scientist too much. Ancient One, it takes time, and our bodies change. Keep in mind, our bodies change in time. So what we could get away with, or how our bodies responded in one way, even look at competing. If I did, let's say I found the perfect peak week formula, that if I knew exactly how I trained, how I ate, how I carved up, and I came in with a great package, best package to date, and I wrote everything down. I have everything written down, and I repeat that the next show. The next show could be 6 months later. I won't have that look. Not because I didn't follow it, because the body doesn't always respond the same way. And this is just talking about competing, but this can also be about people who don't compete as well. Our bodies don't always respond, so we always have to make these adjustments. I know it's a pain in the ass, but we have to be able to adapt. The question is, how do we adapt? And that's where a coach can come in handy. So whether it's Dave, whether it's Jerry, again, find someone that you can trust who is knowledgeable. And if it's not working, let them know it's not working. Give them a chance. If they don't know how to switch it up or it's not working, change your coach. Change your coach. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? Ari, okay, I've been on a 40-year mission of finding what works and doesn't. And so far, it's been good to me, and those I've referred always benefit just like you, Lesley. I send your info to everyone I know. Thank you, Ari. I really appreciate your confidence, and I appreciate your being a supporter. I really do. Rajiv, Tony Huge gear injection caused a painful swelling in my delt, and everyone I know who used it said the same. Okay, Rajiv, be careful of Tony Huge. He's a big experimenter, which I'm not against. But he's not. I want you to think about the quality of knowledge. I'm not saying he doesn't know knowledge. He doesn't know anything. He does. But when we're talking about, it's kind of like coaches. There are a lot of competition coaches. And there are people who've been coaching for a number of years. But there are some that stand out compared to others. So I'm saying if you're going to listen to someone in the know, first of all, I think they should have competed in bodybuilding. 2, I think they should have a good reputation. You also have to be able to work with them. They also have to have a good personality that you can work with. Some coaches, they know their stuff, but maybe you might have a personality clash. But when it comes to getting knowledge, go to the top. Go to the top. Tony Huge is not the top. I'm not saying he doesn't know everything, but go to the top, because there's a lot of misinformation out there because he doesn't know it himself. Okay? So, Rajiv, these are good questions, really good questions. I appreciate you bringing them up. And I'm sorry that you still have that swelling. I'm wondering what can be done about that swelling. You still have that in your delt. Does anyone here on the chat know what Rajiv can do, because he's got this swelling in his delt and he's had this from a long time from this Tony Huge gear injection? What can be done to take down? Now, I don't know if surgery has to be done. Rajiv, have you looked at any kind of options or talked to anyone to see what could be done potentially to get that swelling down? Ari, I've heard bikini competitors take it mostly for the body composition, not to get big. Is that right, Lesley? Yes. When you look at a bikini competitor, their shape, well, to me, now I can't judge bikini, because to me they all kind of look the same. The top 5 or even the top 10 girls all look the same to me. I don't have that bikini eye. I can judge women's physique because I'm in women's physique, but I can't judge bikini. But to get that shape is very difficult. So in order to get that really tiny waist, that's what they need that for. And for women can be bottom heavy. So to get your legs to be that shapely, oftentimes gear needs to be used to get that in. and to bring all that, get that tighter look. So yeah, I'm not saying, bikini girls can't use gear and it wouldn't be helpful. I'm just saying some use gear that they don't need to, that would put on a lot of muscle. Bikinis aren't known for muscle. In fact, you get scored down if you have too much muscle in bikini, even at the pro level. So what are the compounds that a female body won't take, like Tren, or is it taken for the last 2 weeks or something in a small dose? Okay, so I can't speak for all female bodybuilders. I personally have never used Tren. I don't feel that I necessarily need Tren. I do other things. Now, I know female bodybuilders who do use Tren. So it's not all female bodybuilders follow a certain protocol. It's what they're comfortable using. And this is not a judgment. It's just saying it's personal preference based on also the look that you want and what you feel that you need. Now, what you feel you need and what you actually need can be two different things. But are there female bodybuilders who will use Tren? Yes, 100%. Are there ones that don't? Yep, 100%. So there's not like a certain formula that every bodybuilder will use, or even every category. So it depends on the person. RE. Okay, that change in look even when doing the same thing between contests is a huge reason Frank Zane kept diaries on its train, but always left room for modification. Very true. I remember Frank Zane keeping lots, like that was so smart. And he wasn't the only one who did that, which is good, because then you can monitor, what isn't working as well. And then, but making modifications. And what I tell people, if you're able to start your prep early enough, do a mock prep. So mock prep could be similar to what you did on a previous show. See how that responds, how your body responds, because then you have time. The idea of a mock prep is you do it ahead of time of the show. So that means that even if you did the exact same thing that worked for you before, then you say, okay, what do I need to dial in a little bit more? Or what could I get? Maybe I need to get a look fuller. Maybe I'll add a little carbs. Will that make me spill over? Let me try it out. Then you have time for the actual show. This is when you buy mock prep, by trying different kinds of modifications like Frank Zane did, to be able to say, okay, what will bring me in the best? And if I did it, I have 20 extra carbs that would made me spill over. I've got time to pull that back, and maybe I'll do 10 grams of extra carbs or whatever it might be. So yeah, I think it's great to be able to write things down and to do mock preps if you're able to do that. Dave, aka Mark. Nowadays, everything is on the table when it comes to drugs for males and females, with a lot of bro science when it comes to dosages. Crazy mess. I agree. I think people take way too much. They think that more or higher doses of something will get them a bigger result. And that's not always the case. Sometimes you can take more and you'll feel more like shit. So be careful of that. Not to mention the higher risks health-wise. Rajiv, Dave Palumbo is a great coach and a great friend and a mentor in life too. You know what? Dave cares. This is the thing about Rajiv. This is the thing about Dave. He does care about people. It's not just a job. He genuinely cares. I agree with you. The swelling is getting better. It's not painful anymore. I don't think I need treatments for that anymore. Okay. Well, I'm glad it's not painful, but if it's still swollen, that means the body's not happy, even though it's not. And again, I'm glad it's getting better. But it still means the body's not happy. But I do hope it gets, I don't know if you'll get 100% back, but I do hope it gets a lot better for you, Rajiv. I really do. Ari, okay, Chris Aceto, Dave Palumbo, Frank Zane, Honey, Dennis James, Chad, Chris Lewis, who trained Roden, yeah, and Milos are the top guys training winners, yeah. Agreed. Don't forget Neil Hill. Neil Hill is also up there too. There are also some great female there are some great female trainers out there too. Ari, do you know any? One of the female trainers, who does Steve Kuklo use? Gina, what's her last? Is it Gina? I want to say Davis, but I'm not 100%. Is it Gina Davis that Steve Kuklo uses? Apparently she's really good. But if you guys know other female trainers, by all means, give them a shout out. So if there's any other questions, please ask. If not, we'll just wrap it up for today. I'll give you guys a few moments if anyone wants to put something last minute in. I'm going to have my lovely fish and 70 grams of, what is it today? I think it's sugar snap peas today. Would you back off on your training, say the last 4 weeks when you're in a calorie deficit? For me, I just follow my plan, Dave. Depending on my coach, because I've had different coaches that won't necessarily, okay, when you say back off on your training, it's listening to your body, if that's what you mean. So if my body, because I actually I'm one of those people who writes down my weights, the reps that I do. So when I do the workout the next week, I always try to beat it. But in the last few weeks before a show, I may not be, especially when the carbs get cut, I may not be able to push as much. And that's okay, because I know, and that usually is it does usually happen. My weights that I'm able to push or pull go lower because of what's happening outside, as far as the carbs being dropped, and sometimes completely dropped. So then I won't have as much energy. Then sometimes on peak week, we'll do, instead of the regular workouts during peak week. So peak week, for guys who don't know, is the week leading up to the show, 7 days leading up to the show. The training changes, where leg day might be anywhere, my last leg day is anywhere between 5 and 10 days before the show, depending on where I'm at, or 5 to 7 days. And then we do these kind of burnout training sessions where it's not quite the weights, but you're going faster through a lot of exercises. So I'm not sure with this. This is my first time with this particular coach. I'm not sure what he's going to do. If we're just going to keep the training and just see what happens. The last training day is usually a Wednesday or a Thursday before a Saturday show. My cardio is usually the Thursday before a Saturday show. So that changes in that respect. Okay, let's see. Would you back? Okay. Wasn't there some old lady famous trainer? Oh, Dohill. Yes, I've heard of Gina Davis and Monica. Oh, yeah, Monica Brandt. Yes, that's true. Yes, okay, see, don't apply. All great, Grace, and all business too. Just wanted to tell you guys I trained with Dorian Yates in 2015, and it was freaking insane. But he is not a really okay. Rajiv, yes, he's not friendly, but he's intense. There's no question. There's going to be a lot of intensity when it comes to training with Dorian. Grandma was the trainer for Rolly. I've seen them in Delhi, India. Cool. Really cool. That would be really cool. I've always wanted to go to India. I've always wanted to travel to various, different bodybuilding gyms and meet people. That would be really cool. India is one of them. Australia is another. There's so many places I'd like to go to. Dorian does training now in England. I believe he does. He has a studio gym there. I'm pretty sure he does. He can be abrasive, yes. I don't know if he's still abrasive. Is he still abrasive? He trains in Marbella, Spain. Okay. Rolly was a beast. Yeah, he was. Rolly was, for sure. I've trained in Temple Gym, too. Didn't realize it was his gym till I went there. It's closed down. Oh, is it closed down? Oh, that's a shame. All right, okay, tell us what you're up to these days, your business model, and some depth on your expertise. So, okay, Tim. All right, so what am I up to? I don't know if you heard my day so far. I woke up at 4:30, did my 1 hour fasted cardio, did some food prep, did 2 hours of leg training. Then I did my second cardio, came home, ate, did iron therapy, and I'm here with you guys. So far that's been my day. Then I'm going to have a client after this, do a little bit more food prep, do a little bit more work, admin work. What else? Probably a load of laundry. That's my day for Monday. But it's garbage day. I got to take out garbage, recycling, organics. Let's see. That's kind of like boring. But as far as, because I'm getting ready for a show. My show is in just under 6 weeks. My training is anywhere between 2 and 3 times a day. That includes cardio, obviously. I only do 1 training session a day. Doing my business as far as registered psychotherapy. So I help regular people, individuals and couples, as well as the mental game coaching. I'm work on getting a video to you guys every Friday. There's a new video that gets posted Friday morning, first thing Friday morning. This Friday, I think I might do the fear of failure. I'll put that out, but every week I do a different video. So I'll put that out. If you guys have any ideas for, suggestions, whether it be on here for a live or for a video, I'm happy to do that as well. Let's see. So yeah, basically I'm an entrepreneur for 2 jobs and I'm in prep. So the reality is I'm probably going to have to retire from competing. Not this year. Probably I have 1 more year left in me and then I'll have to retire because I really want to focus on the mental game coaching. Because the thing is that with bodybuilding or any kind of athlete, I think you guys know that there's a physical component, but there's this mental health piece. So what I'm doing here, I'm only reaching a small number. There are so many bodybuilders who have no clue that I exist. And I want to be able to be there in person, kind of work with people, bodybuilders, and help them through their journeys through, whether it be their competition preps or if they're off season, what they can work on their mental game, but again, both off season and in prep. Because I'll tell you right now, I'll give people a peak week mental protocol to go through because there's a lot of mental things that can happen when you go through peak week. But for me to do that, I need time. And as long as I'm competing, because I'm training now, when I retire from competing, it's not going to stop working out. But my cardio might be 20 or 30 minutes in the morning instead of the hour. And I'm not going to do a second cardio session from a lifestyle standpoint. Now I might go for a hike or something, but it's a little different. And I'll still train, definitely train 5 or 6 days a week. That's not going to change. But I need to create more time. And when I'm competing, I'm not able to have the time as well as the energy, because when I'm competing, my carbs get dropped. So I don't have as much energy to get certain things done. So for me to really catapult this the way I want to and spend the time and get videos out to you guys more is to be able to retire. But I'm not quite ready to retire. So I'm trying to get both. I'm trying to do both. So at least for this year, we'll see about next year. Next year will probably be my last year competing. And then I'll have to hang it up, like I said, to get my business off. And it might even be the first half of next year. But let's see. Let's get this year out of the way. So I've got my regional show. I've got the Amateur Olympia, just doing those 2 shows. Then I'll shut down for the year and get ready for next year. But yeah, so I keep pretty busy. Let's see. Yeah, busy D. I used to be that busy in the course. We get done. Yep. I can't in the Marine Corps. You know what, Tim, like when you talk about, being in the Marines, you guys are up super early. And yes, drills. Your schedule's like every minute of every day. Okay, seriously, there was an old lady. I think she might have been a German or Dutch who trained guys, maybe 30s IIRs. I don't know who that would be. If anyone does, put down the name of that lady. Or she might still be active. Brain is constantly in the low carb. Yeah, ancient one, especially with your low carbs, I get it. Bodybuilders of the 80s had gaunt, chiseled faces and were granite dry, and today's pros have very round faces and not quite the same conditioning. Any reason, thought, please? Okay, Dave. I think bodybuilders of the 80s had probably better genetics overall than the bodybuilders of today. Now, I'm not saying the bodybuilders of today don't have good genetics, but I think it's a combination. Because they had better genetics, and I know there's outliers now, but because they had better genetics, they didn't have to do as much gear. And I think when you don't have to do as much gear, you don't get as puffy, because that's maybe one of the side effects, is that puffy face or the stomach or whatever it might be. The other piece is they also knew how to, The other thing is, I think the quality, and I don't know this 100%, I think the quality of the gear was much better. The pharmaceutical grade was much better or much easier to access back then than it is now. It's hard to get pharma grade stuff here. And when you can, and not all stuff is pharma, and when when you can find it, it's bloody expensive. So I think that might have something to do with it too. If anyone has any other thoughts, like please chime in. Please chime in the chat. 6 weeks, that's what I was interested in. Do you have a site to follow your bodybuilding on? I'm very interested in your psychology and how to use like that in my life, just short on fun time. Okay, so right now, the only site I have for the bodybuilding is my Mental Iron. So when you do my Mental Iron channel, so not just here on my lives, but my Mental Iron channel, you'll see a bunch of videos. Check out those videos. And like I said, I'm open to other suggestions as far as topics so that I can do in future videos. So feel free to put that on. Rajiv, glad I was part of your show. Cleared a lot of my old doubts, especially about the female. But you're welcome. And Rajiv, I have this live every Monday. If there's ever an exception, the only exception, I can't think of an exception coming up right now. But the only exception to a Monday would probably be the day before I step on the Olympia stage. So December 12th, because December 13th, I step on stage, and I believe that's a Tuesday. So the Monday, because I usually do this live Mondays, would be the day before. Probably won't be on here the day before I'm on. Who knows? I don't think so, but probably won't because I might be busy getting tanned or who knows what I'm getting done. And going to athlete meetings and all this other stuff, practicing posing. If I can't make it, I'll do a quick little video saying, hey, this coming up Monday, I won't be able to go. But other than that, I'm here every Monday, right after the Iron Therapy show. The Iron Therapy show usually starts at 2. Sometimes Dave says, hey, I'm gonna be a bit late. So whenever it's done, I basically get off there. Then I come on here, and then I do my Q&A here. So feel free to join. Now, granted, some people do work at this time of the day. So if you're not able to join, these are always put up on my videos on the YouTube channel. So if you're not able to participate, you can always watch it. Let's say when you're doing your cardio, helps pass some time. And then put any comments below. If you like it, put your thumbs up on it. If you have any feedback, I'm open to feedback. If you have topics that you want me to cover in future videos or future Q&As, put them down there as well. Because I can appreciate, like I said, this is the middle of the day for a lot of people, so they're at work and they can't watch it until after the fact. So for anyone who can join me live, that's awesome. Thank you for joining me. For those who can't, I totally get it. But if you can leave me some comments, give me some love, that's great. And if you want questions, like I said, post questions for the next chat. I'm very happy for that as well. So Rajiv, as one of the new guys, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate you being part of the show. Thank you. And if you, like I said, if you have future questions, please do ask. Ari, awesome. Mental game has always been my weakness. Follow through, goal achievement, and forming, sticking to goals, among some other personal things too. We shall talk. I look forward to it, Tim. Look forward to it. Thanks, Lesley, for another great session. Dave, aka Mark, like I said, keep your name. I love that. Glad you liked the session. Yep, agree on the pharma nutrition. I think our food is depleted. Yes, agreed. India Pharma grade gear and GH enters at Direx is over the counter. Is it really? Oh, I got to go to India. It's 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. Oh, right. You had the time difference. What are you doing up? Rajiv, you got to go sleep. Do you usually stay up this late, Rashid? Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's 2 a.m. in India. That's true. That's right. Geography, of course. Okay, my mental game flaws are unusual for a Marine, I know, but as you age and things fall apart, it happens mentally as well as physically. I just hope I'm not too far gone. Depressing times. Tim, here's the thing. If you're a Marine, answer me this. Are you stubborn? Because if you're stubborn, I can work with you. If you're not stubborn, I'm not sure if I can work with you. The reason why I say that is because if you're stubborn, that usually means that you have some tenacity about you. That's what I like. I like someone with a little tenacity, a little bit of punch, because we're going to use that, and I'm going to help you funnel that and propel you into the direction you need to go. Okay? So do not give up on yourself, because frankly, I'm not going to. And if you do, I'm going to make you do a bunch of burpees with some push-ups, which I will do, by the way. So go train day. Okay, have a great training session. Kevin, great life shows. Always take care. Enjoy your fish and beans. Thanks, Kevin. Ari, thanks. Thanks, Lesley, for a great. Probably we're going to get the word out for you. Thank you, Tim. I really appreciate you getting the word out. Very stubborn. Glad you're stubborn. Rajiv, thank you. Get some sleep, Rajiv. This is good for muscle recovery. And stubborn is a good quality, because with stubborn, I want you guys to remember stubborn, that if you spin the word stubborn into a positive, it becomes persistence, becomes resilience, becomes being relentless. Wouldn't you want to be relentless? This is why I'm relentless, because I'm so bloody stubborn. Okay, so now I'm going to, if I had time, maybe tonight I'll watch She-Hulk. That's maybe something I'll do, because I have a client I have to talk to. But guys, once again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for showing me love. Thank you for your questions, your comments. And I can't wait to see you guys next week on Iron Therapy and Mental Iron. Check out my video that's coming up. Again, it comes out every Friday, Eastern Standard Time. I believe it's even released just at midnight. Give your comments. And once again, you guys are the best. Love you. Take care. Have a great rest of your week. And remember to keep your mental game on.